Okay,
there
perfect. Thank you. All right, welcome everyone to Arts Build's Friday Community Zoom. We're super excited to see you as always. We have a wonderful lineup of guests this morning in honor of National Arts Education Week. We're going to be joined by folks from the Kennedy Center and the Arts Space Collaborative at UTC. But before we get started, I just wanted to share a few announcements. Tomorrow, Arts Build will be hosting Visuals for the Voiceless art exhibition. So we're inviting the community to join us at Arts Build from 6 to 8 p.m. And this event is part of the citywide Ed Johnson Memorial Dedication events that are happening. So this is just one of several events, but this one is an exhibition that is an artistic homage that is fueled by multidisciplinary artists responding to the story of Ed Johnson. So we'll have several artists featuring their works here. We'll also have live music from New Breed, and that also is featuring Keela Jackson. And that's in partnership with, as well as the Live Music is Back Summer Series, which features concerts across Chattanooga through a partnership between Chattanooga Tourism Company and the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. So if you don't already have plans for tomorrow evening, please come to Arts Build between 6 and 8 p.m. It'll be fun. We'll have music. You can mix and mingle with the artists and learn about the Ed Johnson story and how they were moved to create these pieces. We'll also be out in the community earlier in the day. We'll have a booth set up at the Chat State Latin Festival from 10 to 1 p.m. As well as the Harrison Harvest Fest from 10 to 1 p.m. as well. So there's a lot of things going on this weekend. And I'd also like to ask Amy to share some information about the relaunch of this year's Tech Goes Home program.
Yes, and pardon my camera issues. You just have to look at a blank screen, or I guess the anyway. So just wanted to update everybody that our upcoming Tech Goes Home program registration. The deadline for that is Friday, October 1st, and we will reconvene from October 4th. Through Friday, October 8th. So we're going to do 5 days in a row this time. And we're going to gather virtually from 5:30 to 8:30 every evening of that week of October 4th. And so if you would, any adults that you know of who are creatives, from the age of 18 or older, send them our way. We've got a registration form for them to fill out online. Yeah, hopefully we'll have another great class. And as a reminder, not only do participants get a free laptop by the end of the program, they also either refresh or create an online artist portfolio so that they can share in the professional sphere.
Can you send me an email to say, please, Tracy Elliott worked with Seniors Got Talent, how many hours?
Yeah.
And how but
okay. I don't think that was for us.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry.
Okay, thanks, Amy. All right, well, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. So as I said, we're joined by Jeanette McCune. She's the Director of School and Community Programs with the Kennedy Center. Jeanette is going to be sharing information about their arts education programming through Partners in Education and Any Given Child partnerships, which Arts Build, as well as the Arts Space Collaborative, as well as the Theater Center are all a part of this partnership with Hamilton County School District. So Jeanette, if you want to share your screen, and yeah, I'll kick it off to you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Fabulous, thank you. So I want to make sure first and foremost that you can see my screen, and I'm going to turn it into the present mode. and make sure that that all works. Are you all seeing teaching artist overview? Okay, excellent. First issue has been solved. Thank you all so much. You know how it is with technology. Thank you so much for having me today. It is a pleasure and honor to join you and talk a little bit about the arts education programs at the Kennedy Center. I'm going to be focusing very specifically on teaching artists this morning for my part of this conversation. But I just do want to do a little bit of a level set and tell you a little bit about who I am and where we are at the Kennedy Center. So first of all, I'm not at the Kennedy Center today. I'm at home, but I have a beautiful backdrop of the River Terrace area where the wonderful language from President Kennedy is to keep us inspired and motivated. But the Kennedy Center has certainly moved to a virtual paradigm, as many of us have during this past 18 months since the pandemic hit. And we have certainly had some lessons learned over time. But teaching artists and the work that teaching artists do on behalf of our two networks has not changed. What has changed has been the delivery in some cases, but the commitment to arts education developed and led by teaching artists to augment and support arts education continues to endure. And we're really excited about the ways that artists have innovated, have been able to meet the needs of our young people and our educators through the work that they've done and to be a part of from the Kennedy Center to support them in those endeavors. So Partners in Education and Any Given Child, which Hamilton County is a part of both of those programs. Just to do a quick level set before I dive into teaching artists, Partners in Education is our program that has existed since 1991. It is an extension of the Kennedy Center's professional development program at the Kennedy Center, which focuses on the partnerships between school districts and arts organizations. Together, communities come together from those two entities and determine the best ways to provide professional development to keep best practices for educators centered on the arts integration, as well as general arts education, and how that plays out in the classroom for students. That is one of our longest standing programs, having started in 1991, and our professional development at the Kennedy Center actually started in 1976, but this professional development that happens through Partners in Education was to consider how similar partnerships could endure in other communities across the country. Any Given Child, which is one of our newer programs, started in 2009 and focuses on collective impact. So not only does it include collaborators from school districts and arts organizations, it includes our external providers that support arts education outside of cultural institutions. It includes the philanthropy community, the business community, and those with lived experience that are part of our work. And last but not least, one of the other clear stakeholders in our Any Given Child work are our city or county municipalities. How do we ensure that we develop policies and procedures that focus on arts access and equity for our young people? And then it is not a problem or a concern that only resides with those that are the deliverers of arts education, but those who are influencers and decision makers. And so we're delighted to have Hamilton County as part of both of those two initiatives, working collaboratively and thoughtfully. So I just thought a quick level set on the two programs of which your community is a part of, and then speaking to how our teaching artist works helps to support that work might be helpful today. So I'm going to move to the next slide here. So first and foremost, and this is really small, well, some things are going to pop up, but I think it's important for us to think about what is a teaching artist. And so there are sort of four main things that we think about at the Kennedy Center as we talk about the role of teaching artists. One, they exist at the intersection of arts and education. They are not just an artist, they are not just a teacher, but they provide a very specific set of experience that focuses on their work as a professional in the field, but they have a sensibility and experience in working in classroom and school environments, both with teachers and with students. They demonstrate a depth of knowledge in their art form. Typically in our schools, it's really a bit more of introductory arts education experiences that can be provided. And as in many cases, a classroom educator may have a breadth of experience, but they may have a very specific area of focus. And one of the things that we find really valuable about working with teaching artists is that they are bringing in specific disciplines and genres that can augment those experiences and provide some new ways for our young people and for our teachers to be able to engage in the work. So a depth of knowledge in their art form is critically important. Because they are professionals that are out in the field and have an opportunity to interact and intersect with others, both within their own disciplines as well as others, they're engaged in a sustained creative exploration. Their work is not done. They're constantly building their own schema and knowledge so that they can be effective educators and leaders for us in our community. So they're continuing to invest in themselves and their art form to support our work in schools. Our teaching artists teach in, through, and about the arts. So we don't just focus on learning in the art form, but we look at those intersections to deepen learning and experience for our young people and for our teachers that are working in collaboration. Not one area is valued more than another, but in fact, the intersection and the understanding that artistic endeavor and artistic experience touches every single part of our lives. And we look for teaching artists to help us in those journeys. And then last but not least, teaching artists do not just work in one particular location. In many cases, they have community-based experiences, work in spaces such as libraries, prisons, community centers, schools, in other community settings. And so our goal is to make the work of teaching artists more visible and to engage them in a variety of experiences that allow us to touch and engage with as many different individuals as humanly possible. So that to us is a defining methodology that we use for teaching artists. And we always want to start there as we have these conversations. So as I shared a little bit before I move to this slide, the professional development program and our work with teaching artists really started with that 1976 program. As you may know, this is actually the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy Center. September 8th marked the 50th anniversary of our doors opening. And in 1976, just 5 years after we opened, we started our professional development program. There is a congressional mandate for Kennedy Center to serve through professional learning, for which we are really grateful. And that's why that has such a great emphasis for us at the Kennedy Center. But we started with a professional development workshop season, working with local schools in local jurisdictions in the greater DC metro area. And we have about 17 school districts that we routinely work with in the Kennedy Center that are within close proximity, from which educators come and participate in our programs. So we wanted to make sure that teaching artists were a big part of that program. Teaching artists, again, are those who are local practitioners who focus on developing arts education resources and programs that can be imparted and shared with our teachers to expand their own educational knowledge and to give an arsenal of new opportunities to teach our young people. And so at first, we really did focus on professional development only. But in 1992, we built a deeper program with the District of Columbia Public Schools. And we started focusing also on not only professional development, but artists in residence, deeper learning experiences that connected teaching artists to our local schools, developing and supporting teaching artists with unique and fantastic ideas of content, assuring that they knew the education landscape, the education language, and knew how to lead their work, but in a sustained way to develop longer-term relationships that not only support teachers, but that support learning of students. And so beyond that, now we're supporting teaching artists in sites around the country, and that was the advent of our professional development program. Again, I know this may seem, why am I giving you all this background? But I think it's often helpful just to level set and understand why the Kennedy Center is so deeply invested in the outstanding work that you as our community partners are engaged in, and how our evolution has continued to impact us. So how are we currently using teaching artists? Wow, I talked about our professional development, and I spoke to a little bit of our work around the residency program, but we do have residencies in schools for students, professional learning workshops for teachers, professional learning seminars for teaching artists. How can we identify and nurture teaching artists that may be newer to the field and could seek opportunities to build their own practice so that they can now do more work in a variety of settings? We have special-based community programs, some of those spaces that I spoke to a little earlier. Where can we develop opportunities for teaching artists to be engaged in a variety of settings? We have, with our new Reach expansion building, which opened 2 years ago, as well as spaces within the Kennedy Center, we have family workshops. And so we started a Second Saturday program where families can drop in and engage in services and programs that teaching artists typically do in our schools. We have wraparound programming associated with our theater for young audiences and performances for young audiences. Many things that I'm sure your communities also do, but Kennedy Center, again, understands that it's important to not pigeonhole the work that teaching artists do, but to understand the impact in the variety of ways that they can work with us. And so the wraparound programming might be a pre-performance experience for those who are coming to a show, a workshop set of learning experiences that happen that we take into school and community settings before and after a performance happens at the Kennedy Center. So how can we augment and really deepen the learning? Citizen Artists, which is a program that we started in 2016, the intersection of arts and social justice, and teaching artists that are making a difference in their community. Individuals in those relationships do work such as keynote speakers, performances, and other experiences. Alicia Lee, who some of you may have seen at our annual conference this past year virtually, as well as the last one we did in person in February 2020, is a citizen artist who started Sister Cities Girl Choir in the Philadelphia area and expanded into Maryland. But she's also the head of the Maryland State Department of Education as an arts education practitioner. She lives and embodies that citizen artist philosophy, but she is a practitioner and someone that we can look to provide that type of resource and program as both a keynote as well as a workshop practitioner. We also have started our Teaching Artists Present program, which I'm going to dive into just a tiny bit during our conversation, which was our response to the pandemic and how to continue working with teaching artists. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit and just tell you what we did. And again, not likely that we're the only ones. There are very few new things under the sun, but Kennedy Center, when we do something, we know that it's something that has the opportunity to amplify and validate it for others. And so part of our objective this past year was how could we support teaching artists to be able to still deliver meaningful work, for it to be part of a collection of arts education resources that were available not only to our networks, but to schools and families across the country. And so we had an application process and a screening process where artists brought together a short form content that could be shared as it relates to arts education. This was called Teaching Artists Presents. These videos, which are typically 6 to 10 minutes, are educational videos that can be done in a school setting, at home, but ultimately it actually functions in two parts. It is a video that's produced that an artist had to do completely on their own at home. They did not come to the Kennedy Center and have technical support. They needed support in how to use their camera effectively, sound effectively, designing when they're not interacting and working with students, but in fact, they're on a screen and they have to think about the best way to present that content and knowledge so that a young person can participate in the content independently, or a teacher could potentially use this content as part of a larger lesson plan or other aspect that they wish to use. So it was not only helping them to develop content that could be used for our audiences, but it was a professional development experience in which we had our teaching artists put together a proposal. They received feedback from a cohort of us at the Kennedy Center on developing the content, and they received technical assistance on how to best present themselves virtually online. So we now have a collection of 44 of these videos that are available, and they're also being embedded in our digital learning collection at the Kennedy Center. What we're also finding with this process is now we've identified some of these teaching artists have worked with us in our professional learning program and in our residency program, but many are novel and new to us at the Kennedy Center. And now we're finding intersections for them to do additional work with us through our conferences, our arts integration conferences, to begin participating in some of our residency programs and other experiences. So now we're able to cross-reference teaching artists to do a variety of work, not only within our Kennedy Center local network, but also to support the work that you're doing. And artists that you've identified in your local community, you're also now bringing to us at the Kennedy Center. So we're building this larger, more effective ecosystem for us around teaching artists. So we're really excited about that. And we hope that you'll look at our Teaching Artists Presents and consider other artists. This year, we should be adding about another 20 more videos that are in process right now. So we'll be releasing about 4 or 5 per month over the next several months. And then we'll start the process again as we evaluate its effectiveness. So for you, how do you find out about Kennedy Center teaching artists? How do you find out about the artists that work with us? We are actually in process of updating our website, but at the moment, this link that I've put in here, and I will share this information with our colleagues. Actually, I already have. They can share the links with you, but you can access the current list of teaching artists that have been vetted to lead professional development. So these are teaching artists that you already know and probably are familiar with. And that list of teaching artists is presently on the website still under our National Professional Development Resources section. So this is the page and what it looks like. But if you scrolled down, you would actually see the list of teaching artists, the grade strands, the description of the work that they are offering. What we are going to be doing, because we are continuing to expand our roster, is we're going to make this now available through member clicks. So in the next few weeks, we will be transitioning from the website, making this information available on member clicks, and then being able to add additional artists who have most recently begun doing work with us in terms of our professional development season for the Kennedy Center, teaching artists who have worked in our Arts Integration Conference, and others in addition to those that you already know well. So we're looking for ways to continue to expand the roster, to be able, actually, we're not even using the word roster anymore. We're thinking about it as our network of teaching artists so that we can continue to be dynamic, to respond to the needs of our local communities and our local and national communities, and so that we can continue to expand the number of outstanding teaching artists that are able to do work. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me after this conversation. I'll also add my contact information, and we have a teaching artist strategy manager, Erica Palmeter, who is also available to answer questions specifically about teaching artists. But we're really delighted to work with you and to receive recommendations for teaching artists in your community so that we can continue to expand the opportunities for teaching artists and the impact that they have in our schools. So I'll turn it back over to you, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. And I'm going to plug that link in here and also plug the link to the Teaching Artist Presents as well for folks that want to grab that. Yeah, that was a really great overview that you provided for all of us. And I would like to open up to anybody that has any questions or comments for Jeanette.
Hey, this is Rodney. Hey, Jeanette, you might explain, what is a typical journey of a teaching artist, and like, where do they begin? Talk about that again. And we always get questions about how to become a Kennedy Center teaching artist and all. So maybe talk about how do people generally develop their work to move into a national profile?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rodney. That was a great question. So as I was mentioning earlier, we have a colleague who is the manager of teaching artist strategy. A couple of years ago, we realized that we actually had a variety of avenues to become a teaching artist with the Kennedy Center. The professional development workshops series, if a teaching artist was interested in pursuing working with the Kennedy Center, there was an application process. So typically we would put information out about, are you interested in leading a professional development workshop for the Kennedy Center? That was the beginning of our process. So there would be a proposal format that would be submitted. We would open up that proposal format, and a proposal for consideration for the following season would come in by January 31st. We would do a call out that we would share with all of our national partners, our national community partnerships, to spread the word. And we also advertise that information on our website, which we are still doing, but we actually have a new version of our process for teaching artists to join the fold. But for a professional development, a teaching artist would submit kind of a brief proposal of what they were interested in doing. The Kennedy Center would review all of those applications, looking at what was the content the artist wanted to present, some information and background about them, as well as some references and referrals for work that they had previously done. We would review all of those applications, and then those who had a promising proposal that met the needs of our network would have an opportunity to present at the Kennedy Center. And through that, it wasn't that they just submitted the proposal and that was the end of the process. What happens with the Kennedy Center is we have team members that work with that teaching artist on developing the content. So that content is something that they may have presented before, but they receive ongoing consultation and technical support as they develop it to meet the Kennedy Center criteria. In a typical year, my new joke is the before times. In the before times, our workshops were 3-hour-long workshops. The Kennedy Center paradigm was that it was a combination of interactive content, a workshop packet that was presented so that a teacher could take that experience back and look at how they could deliver it in their classroom. But the 3-hour paradigm was our typical process. So a teaching artist would be supported in developing a clear beginning, middle, and end of their process of how they would develop that workshop. They would receive technical assistance and support for developing their workshop packet, which followed a kind of a typical framing and process. And then subsequently, the teaching artist would have an opportunity to teach during our season at the Kennedy Center. So the audience that they would actually engage with was teachers that live and work in our local community. And members of our Kennedy Center staff would be there to provide additional observation and feedback for the work that the teaching artist would do. Because the professional development program is not all that we do, and we have residencies, we have these other programs, we've now created a new application process. Are you interested in being a teaching artist with the Kennedy Center? So we have started a new more open format process, and I will drop the link in for that as well. But this new application is a rolling application. So a teaching artist can actually submit at any time of their interest. We will look at the body of work that we have available and will begin a coaching and interview process to identify what types of programs that teaching artist might do and how it can work in and connect to the work that we do at the Kennedy Center. It is a national application process, so a teaching artist from across the country is more than welcome to submit. We do still have teaching artists that come and present on our normal season at the Kennedy Center. And then the process that impacts how a teaching artist converts from they did a workshop the first time through that initial presentation process, there's again a reflection process that happens. We look at how that workshop went. If we feel that based on the feedback that we've received from participating teachers and the consistency of the development and the delivery of the workshop, a teaching artist may then actually be recommended for to be able to do work across our national network. So that is what had ultimately created our national roster. But our objective at this point is once an artist has created a workshop and we've had an opportunity to review, it has been presented, and we feel that it is something that we want to share with our national network, we'll now be able to share that information via a database, as well as other information that will be on member clicks so that you as our membership will know what that artist can and is able to do and what work they've done on behalf of the Kennedy Center. I know that was a really long explanation, but I hope that it gave a process. The big picture is that there's an application process, there's consultation and support from the Kennedy Center, and if an idea is promising, then we're able to actually present it and move forward from there.
Thank you, Jeanette. That was very clear and a great way of letting us know how that works. All right, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to say thank you so much, Jeanette, for joining us this morning and for sharing all this wonderful information and resources. And hopefully our community members can take advantage of these, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with you. All right, I'd like to introduce our other guests. So today we're also joined by Lori Allen, who's the Executive Director, and Angela Dittmar, who's Director of Teaching Artist Residencies with the Arts-Based Collaborative at the University of Tennessee. And this is a great pair up because they're going to be actually sharing information about opportunities here locally for performing artists to apply to be part of their Wolftrap Teaching Artist Program. So Lori and Angela, if you guys want to take the floor.
I'll start it off by just doing a quick introduction and saying hello. So good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Allen. I serve as the Lyndhurst Chair of Excellence in Art Education at UTC. The Chair of Excellence program is a statewide program funded by the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. And I'm honored to serve as the Lyndhurst Chair for the campus, but also very humbled that our university houses the chair that is focused in arts education, which I think is really wonderful, especially with all of the assets that we have available that we're really trying to mobilize and understand in the Chattanooga community, particularly as it pertains to teaching artists. The Arts-Based Collaborative is a rebranded Southeast Center for Education in the Arts. We noticed that we had a transformative opportunity given all of the teaching artists that we do have available in Chattanooga and also in the surrounding counties. And we started thinking about this question of how might we collaborate better with teaching artists to make a significant impact in our community. This was a multi-year conversation that we had starting in 2015. And what we discovered was an opportunity to partner with the Wolftrap Institute for Early Learning Through the Arts, which Angela Dittmar is going to talk about in a moment. And what you're going to hear from Angela is this is a model that is focused on performing artists. However, I do want to share that in our vision and in our program outcomes, we are really passionate about thinking about recruiting and sustaining a diverse roster of teaching artists that can facilitate facilitate arts-based learning for a variety of purposes. We're taking a strategic focus first with performing arts and early learning, but on the horizon, we do hope to expand to other art forms and other settings where we know teaching artists make an impact, such as those examples that Jeanette shared earlier in this session. This is a huge shift for us as a collaborative, and putting collaborative in our name is a way for us to have some accountability and truly embracing a collaborative endeavor. And this has been such a humbling experience for us, learning about so many people and continuing to learn about people that we have in our area that we're so excited to partner with. We believe that our primary mode of program delivery has shifted from content area directors that were housed at UTC, from partnering with teaching artists so that we can expand our impact and learn about a variety of arts-based learning needs in the area. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Angela Dittmar, who will tell you a bit about our journey first with the Wolftrap model, and then we want to open it up for questions and feedback. And you might be thinking when we open up to the conversations, you know, this is such a new realm for us. We would love to get your ideas and suggestions. So you might think about, I wonder how you might consider, and then fill in the blank when that time is appropriate for us to open to conversations. So without further ado, here's Angela Dittmar.
Thank you, Lori, and good morning, everyone. And it was wonderful to hear so much about the Kennedy Center's work with teaching artists. I'm really new at working with teaching artists relatively, but have been working in that capacity as a visual artist in the community for many years. But I joined Arts-Based Collaborative 3 years ago, and within a year, Lori was already plugging this prospect of joining the Wolftrap Institute for Early Learning through the Arts and needing someone to participate as an affiliate director for that program. So it's been again a wonderful opportunity to work in the teaching artist profession and support teaching professional artists in our community. I even see that we have one who is on our current roster on this call. So Rick, hopefully you can, I might put you on the spot in a little while.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we joined and the Wolftrap Teaching Artists as a way to expand our capacity at the Arts-Based Collaborative by hiring and bringing on performing artists who, as we grew with the Wolftrap program, grew with us as well as a much more expansive part of our team. The Wolftrap Institute for Early Learning through the Arts is based outside of DC. It is an institute that is focused on early learning ages, and it also shares a similar sort of mission that the Kennedy Center does, in that it is focused on both exposing young children to the arts while increasing the arts through arts integration strategies that are a form of professional development for teachers. And this happens inside the classroom, partnering a teaching artist in the field of performing arts to co-create and co-facilitate in this sort of collaborative way lessons that are arts integration strategies with STEM subject areas, social studies, and also social emotional learning that can target and be relevant to their curriculum and target certain goals and needs that are focused on their classroom. So there's a lot of asset gathering, there's a lot of relationship building, there's a lot of get to know you time between the teacher and the teaching artist and all the teachers to participate in the classroom, and sharing, but also thinking about who are the children in this classroom and what are the assets that they bring, what are their unique interests and characteristics, and where can we help them grow and build their capacity as well. The emphasis within Wolftrap teaching, the Wolftrap program, is on joyful learning. That learning should be fun and joyful, that this age group thrives in multisensory engagements, and that the arts naturally infuse and bring those into the classroom. So it's a wonderful partnership. What I'd love to do is to sort of, again, introduce a little bit of expand a little bit on our journey, but also show maybe some classroom interviews and profiles so you can see a little bit of what that joy is like. And then we could talk about this opportunity, how we are recruiting to expand our roster as well. So Miriam, is it okay that I share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So I have, first thing I just want to share this slide. And those of you who were on the equity call might recognize this slide, equity in the arts symposium the arts field put on just last week, might recognize this slide. This was our first, this was sort of an impromptu photograph of the artists from our community who joined our roster in 2019. And these are including 2 of the master Wolftrap teaching artists who came to Chattanooga and worked intimately with our teaching artists and with myself to sort of give them the tools and to knowledge base and the comfort and to feel empowered to go into the classroom and start to work through this model. And Rick, can I put you on the spot to join me here and share a little bit about that training? Do you remember the week of pretty much like 8 to 9 p.m. I won't make it sound that laborious, but it was so much fun. But it was full and intense.
It was full. It was intense. There was a lot of new things to be addressed. Being a guitar player naturally was what I was just thinking. Being a teaching artist might just be about me just busting in and saying, "Hey kids, let's play some songs on guitar." But in fact, I didn't even bring my guitar. As you can see in the picture, I switched to a ukulele because it's more about the educational process and sharing where the children are at, and again, those learning and teaching strategies that you can help with singing, with fine motor skill development, with confidence, with being able to speak, and being able to also detect areas where these children might need some attention, and that would help the teachers in moving forward with those children. So I looked at it as a great opportunity to write new music to inspire the next generation of children who I believe that have to listen to their parents' music a lot of times and don't have their own type of music. So so that was that. And then listening to with the master trainers that came in, they provided us with a lot of support and confidence that we could do it. Although it's not our normal, back then it wasn't our normal environment for music, but it quickly became something that we could find how music worked well in the classroom and this type of thing. So it's definitely a refreshing way for a musician to recharge and get out of that, and I think they said it before, as far as the roster, we have a lot of musicians, but visual artists as well, and dance, movement, teaching artists. And so I can't help it, I'm a musician. I wish I could paint.
You do some photography, I understand. So you explore the visual arts. Rick is also very multi-talented, and a lot of the artists are, they find themselves sort of, trading and swapping. So we really try to do a lot to support our teaching artists by bringing them in for ongoing meetings, feedback sessions, professional growth opportunities, and it really is just, I would hope, and this is what I see from my side of things, that just like a really fun atmosphere, but an atmosphere of learning and growing together and supporting each other through through sharing ideas and, pulling in instruments and observing. We'll bring artists in to come and collaborate together in the classroom. Rick and one of our other teaching artists, Stacy Spring, worked with 2 teachers in Battle Academy who were also in kindergarten and first grade, and they would blend their classrooms for a certain amount of time each day or during the week. And they wrote for an STS grant from Tennessee Arts Commission, and through that opportunity, and also through our ability, through some of our funds and availability, we were able to essentially match that and bring in 2 artists to work, Rick and Stacy. And so they were collaborating together and sharing ideas and growing together, as well as working with these 2 incredible teachers at Battle Academy. If I can, so to talk a little bit about what a residency is like, and I ask you to listen to this, keeping in mind that we are expanding our roster, and we're hoping to grow with additional 7 new teaching artists to join our roster. So as you're hearing this, if you're not a performing artist, you might know a performing artist who works really well with children, who's just excited and enthusiastic about being in this sort of educational environment, and also passionate about the arts. As Jeanette mentioned, that sort of deep understanding of your own art form and creative process, and that desire for ongoing explorations is key and critical to this type of relationship and program. So I thought I would share, because nothing speaks again more powerful than some of the videos we've been able to capture. And I have way too much going on my screen. There we go. So I was going to play it, but for time's sake, if you haven't seen this, this is the Wolftrap Institute's website for early learning through the arts. And there's this wonderful, delightful video that introduces the program. But I would rather feature, spend a moment sharing the video that we were able to capture Rick when he was in his first classroom profile at Whitwell Elementary. He was in his first classroom residency. Our classroom residencies, when they are full-scale Wolftrap residency, they go over the course of about 2 months. A teaching artist is going into the classroom to co-facilitate with all the teachers. And usually there's a lead teacher. And this was another case where I believe, and Rick, you can share more about this, where 2 teachers were naturally taught together, and there was more collaboration happening in his very first experience in a classroom residency. But that goal is that the teaching artist is planning, has dedicated planning time with the teachers, and dedicated co-facilitation times with the children. And over the course of the 2 months, going in twice a week, there's a sort of gradual handoff of the art form elements to the teachers, so that they are practicing in the classroom with the children, leading art form elements. And then being able to even maybe get creative with those and designing and integrating them into other lessons. Even, relying on the teaching artist as a coach to say, what do you think about this? How would we partner this with this learning goal? And hopefully continuing to use that. Rick, do you want to, since I'm going to show your Whitwell classroom interview, is there anything you'd like to share about this? Sorry, we need to rewrite the title to include Rick rushing on our presentation.
No, this was a culmination of a lot of, like Angela said, we had the planning meetings and talked about just how, certain games and spots and colors, and we use the harmonica a lot to talk about social emotional learning, highs and lows, feeling high, and feeling low, and we put that into games so that the children were able to be able to understand what feelings high and low were about, attach those to sounds and puff, puff, puffity chop.
Yeah, so that brings another element into this. So this was a literacy-based arts integration residency, and Rick sort of fell in love with Otis from a series of children's books called Otis and, I mean, sometimes it's Otis and a puppy, and sometimes it's Otis and a tractor. This one was a heroic story of Otis being the underdog, right? And saving a young cow out of a mud. So when I got
Otis,
to go, what?
Otis got put in early retirement by another factor. He wasn't ready to hang it up. He wasn't ready to be a Walmart greeter yet. He was ready to be out there. But he ended up saving the calf. So he was the hero.
So there was just a lot of, so let's watch this video. It's quite a charming video of these children. Can you hear? Good.
We've enjoyed it. The kids just absolutely love him. They've taken to him. They look forward to him coming. We look forward to him coming to see what we're going to do that day.
They're definitely connecting the music. I can just play the first two notes of Listen to the Teacher song, and they can take it from there.
This was the first time we did outside. It's a different environment for them. So I think they did really well with it.
The kids are a lot more engaged when it comes to using songs and different things in the carpet time to get them interacting with different rhythms and beats.
The approach is, really is being on that level. The teachers are here, the kids are here. They're excited to be around the teaching artist, who wants to share with them some little nuggets, some songs that they take with them, throughout their whole life, and they'll say, hey, remember that. But at the same time, it reinforces the teachers who are doing the hard work every day with these kids.
It's a different way to tell a story. And rather than just show them a book with pictures, this way they actually, they get to live it.
To see it actually play out with our 4- and 5-year-olds is great to know that we can do that with the curriculum that we have.
I've enjoyed it. They already have an advantage going into next year.
It's been a great program. Hope we get to do it again.
And hopefully get some architects and some doctors and some musicians out of that, That's the joy of it.
I'm super proud of the teaching artists, and that was one of the very first, that was the first classroom residencies we had that first season right before COVID. Yes, yeah, see a lot of hands clapping for you, Rick, and hearts. And Stacy's joined. Ooh, Stacy, I could put you on the spot too.
Angela, why don't we, since we've got both Stacy and Rick, I think they were on this other video. So what you saw was one of the residencies that happened pre-pandemic, but let's show an example of what happened with one of the videos we did with Early Head Start. And I think it included both Stacy and Rick, I believe. We've also had to transition virtually as well too. And now with the support that we've provided for the teaching artists, we provide a lot of guidance support, frequent meetings, and professional development, and in terms of integrating technology more into their practice so that we can support in a variety of modalities.
I'm searching through. This is the challenge. This is like you're putting me on the spot to figure out how well am I organized? Stacy and Rick, do you have a preference for which of the early Head Start videos you would like to share? As Lori said, we had to migrate to virtual residencies, and we're able to give an opportunity for teams of teaching artists to work with a team from the early Head Start classroom last summer. And it was really just the teachers and the teaching artists for the most part. There was maybe some opportunities to share out, and they created resources that they shared out with teachers or with their children in their classrooms at home. But for the most part, it was a wonderful opportunity to really dive into collaborating with teachers. So, okay.
Can also take any questions if anyone has any questions.
Hi, this is Dr. J. I don't particularly have a question, but as a one of the founding members that got Head Start started 60 years ago, I'm just excited about what you're doing with the early learning thing. And I'm just on here to encourage you to really forge a bigger partnership with the whole early learning thing, what Mayor Kelly is doing and how he's moving with early learning. And I also want to encourage you, some of the Otis things were so fun, but for the social emotional learning, especially for Head Start kids, is something I want to encourage you to expand to the greatest degree possible. And if I had $1 million, I would give it to you guys right now, because where you're going and from what we early envisioned with Head Start many years ago. People think so much of Head Start now as an academic program, but it was originally founded as a social emotional learning project in order to free kids to be able to learn. So what you're doing really kind of fits into that. So I just want to say kudos, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr. J. That is, we so appreciate your support, and we do focus so much on social emotional learning. We've had a wonderful partnership with Head Start and Early Head Start, working with their teachers and some of their summer PDs and also in the classroom, and are excited that we have additional residencies on the horizon with Head Start classrooms for our teaching artists.
They just fired me as chairman of the board because I was too pushy, but I'm still always, this is my heart. So you guys just keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr. J. Being a blues artist, I always take social emotional into the classrooms from pre-K to seniors. And it's just, again, with that video that you just saw, those children, I mean, with social emotional learning with them, starting off with the highs and lows, and when they're not feeling good, and when their neighbor's not feeling well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it prepares them for the next grade in their whole life course.
I also want to encourage you. Incidentally, I did my research at UMass, and some of the things that were happening at School of Education when I can't think of the guy who was in charge, was doing all of the training when Bill Cosby was there, and Bill Cosby was developing the whole Fat Albert series. Blues is a special resource, which a lot of people don't realize. Kids can get into blues even more than they can a lot of what they used to call the moving music. So, if you want to pursue some research around there, I think it would be a great idea.
What early on in the pandemic, Rick, we held a session for our teaching artists to pilot a virtual strategy that we, just to have that experience in preparation for what we didn't know might be a possibility at the time. But Rick wrote a blues song for COVID that was to inspire also participation in the writing of that song. It was so maybe it's time to pick that back up. A new Delta, which seems appropriate for the blues too, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I know we only have 5 minutes. I do have another video I can share of what some virtual residency work look like with the early Head Start teachers at Avondale. I think they'll only last about a couple of minutes, so I can give you a little taste of that, and then would love to, I guess, encourage you again to share out this opportunity to join our teaching artist roster. We are accepting applications through Monday, and then we'll start our next phase of that interview process. So here are Rick and Stacy would like to join us. She wrote in the chat that she's on the road and she's has unstable internet. So I would love to hear more. But Rick, do you think the djembe drum sharing song would be appropriate considering, or the hand washing song? Which one do you want to see? The hand washing is only 1 minute and 22 seconds. The sharing song we could watch a part of maybe. Rick.
Sharing song.
Sharing song. Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm sitting here with my djembe drum. Do y'all want to play the sing along, share what you have with you game?
Sure.
I'll start. Djembe drum, 1, 2, 3, tap, 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 pass it on, pass it on.
Cool. I have a drum too. Mr. Drum, 1, 2, 3, tap, 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 and pass it on, pass it on. I have sticks. Music sticks, music sticks. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, tap, 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 and pass it on, pass it on.
I have an apple. My apple. 1, 2, 3. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. And pass it on. And pass it on.
Oh, wow. I have a singing bowl. Singing bowl. 1, 2, 3. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Pass it on. Pass it on.
I have a slide whistle. Slide whistle. 1, 2, 3. And pass it on. Pass it on. I have a cup. My cup. My cup. 1, 2, 3. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. And pass it on. And pass it on.
I have a water bottle. Water bottle. 1, 2, 3. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. And pass it on.
Oh, you can see we're almost out of time, but you can get a sense of. I love it. I think that's a very creative way to use Zoom, but also to inspire creativity. Rick, any thoughts on that you want to share real quick?
just again being in the pandemic in the beginning, and we were just really trying to engage the children as much as possible, and whatever they had to share, whatever they could. It didn't matter if it was a plastic bottle. It doesn't matter if it was a $300 iPhone or whatever. Whatever you had, we tried to be happy that you had it and make whatever it did. So it's just you have to use what you have sometimes and make things work. Wolftrap is, being a teaching artist, has taught me that it's not about what you have, it's about what they have and how they could use it. So the resources that we do have, we shouldn't take for granted. And I think I appreciate Lori and Angela and all you all on the Zoom for supporting musicians in this way and the artists, because it's rough out there for the artists sometimes if we don't have outlets to be creative and help others. So this has definitely helped us. And the Kennedy Center 1976 was a great year. I won't say anything else.
And on that note.
But thank you all.
Thanks so much, Rick, and thank you, Angela and Lori, for joining us and sharing about your great program. And I just plugged in the link to your website. So if anyone on our call is interested in applying or making recommendations, as they said, the application is due this coming Monday. But this is an annual application that gets sent out. So if you're not ready to apply now, take a look at the application and maybe start working on it for the next cycle. So thank you all for joining us. And as I always like to end, this Zoom call is open to the public. And if you have any ideas or if you want to join us on any of our calls to share any resources or information, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and take advantage of all the lovely arts programming that's going on in our city this weekend. All right, thank you and have a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you for having us on the community Zoom and helping us get this word out. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.